Hey guys, welcome to CPM 3. This is your Module 4 review. Your review is only one page front and back, so it's this page and this page. As you can see, there's not a lot of room to do your work, so I'm going to do mine on one that's a little bit more spaced out, but it is the exact same review. Okay, so number 1 says to solve the system by graphing. So you are going to have one or two that specifically say you must solve this by graphing, and so when it tells you to solve it by graphing, that's the only method you can use. So if I take this first equation, this is not in slope-intercept form, so I need to solve this for y. So I'm going to subtract my 2x over. So I've got negative 3y equals, you can't combine these, so you've got negative 2x plus 6. Okay, you want to make sure your 2x stays negative and this 6 is positive, so plus 6. Then we're going to divide by negative 3. When you divide by negative 3, you need to divide everything by negative 3. So now my equation is y equals, I can't reduce 2 and 3, but negative over negative does become positive 2/3 x. And then 6 divided by negative 3 is a minus 2. So this right here, my slope is 2 over 3, and my y-intercept is at negative 2. So we'll start along our y-axis at negative 2, and then use your slope. We're going up 2, running 1, 2, 3. Up 2, running 1, 2, 3. Up 2, running 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to go the same thing in the opposite direction. So now I'll go down 1, 2, and then run 1, 2, 3 in the opposite direction. Down 2, running 1, 2, 3. Running down 2, running 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here is my first line. So now, out of this equation here, this is already in slope-intercept form. So my slope is 1, which is the same as 1 over 1. And my y-intercept is at negative 5. So I'll start down here at negative 5. And then I'm running up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Here. Okay, and finally right there is where they intersect, where they land on the exact same spot. So my second line looks something like that. Now, because we're solving, the most important question is, where are these two crossing each other at? So when you rise and run, you go up and down, then side to side. When you have your points, you got to go over along your x first, then your y. So this point appears to be right here, which is at 9. And then it is up to right here, which is 4. So 9, 4. right. Now these down here say to solve the systems of equation by either addition or substitution, so you get to pick. Because on number 2, this one's already solved for one variable, it has y equals, I'm going to use substitution here. So because this is solved for, I'm going to plug it into this top one here. So in place of this y, we are replacing it with x minus 5. So we have 2x minus 3 times x minus 5 equals 6. So we need to solve this for x. So the first thing we're going to do is distribute. So I've got 2x minus 3x minus 15 equals 6. Combine your like terms. 2 minus 3x gives me a negative x. Minus 15 equals 6. Add your 15 over. So we get negative x equals 21. And we're going to divide by negative 1 to get x equals negative 21. Okay, so that's one answer. Now we've got to plug it in to get the next one. So now in place of this x, now I'm going to put in my negative 21. So we've got y equals negative 21 minus 5. Combine your like terms, and we've got y equals negative 26. Now, when it tells you to solve, you got to write this as an ordered pair. So this is negative 21, comma, negative 26. Now these two, you have nothing that's already solved for. So with both of these, I'm going to use addition. So if we look at this one here, nothing already cancels out. But if I want to cancel, let's say, my y's, you've got a positive y and a negative y. So if I multiply this top one by 2, I can cancel out my y's. So now 2 times 4x is 8x. I'm distributing this to everything, including on the other side of the equal sign. 2 times y is a plus 2y. And 2 times a negative 3 is a negative 6. Well, now if you kind of notice, everything's going to cancel. You've got negative 8 and a positive 8, that cancels. Negative 2 and a positive 2, that cancels. 6 and a negative 6, that cancels. So now I have 0 on this side equals 0 on this side. Because this is a true equation, my answer here is all real numbers. Or, I mean, all real numbers does work. But I think we have been calling that infinite solutions. So either of those would work just fine. Okay, now on 4, I already said we're going to use addition property. So if I want to cancel out my x's this time, notice that your x's are both positive and even your y's are the same sign. They're both negative. Okay, so when I multiply this to cancel out my x's, I don't want to multiply by a positive 5, but a negative 1, so they'll have opposite signs. So now, distribute that negative to all three things, your x, your y, and what that equals. So negative 5 times x is negative 5x. Negative 5 times a negative y is a positive 5y. And negative 5 times a negative 8 is a negative 40. So almost the same thing happens. I've got a positive 5 and a negative 5, so those cancel. I've got a negative 5 and a positive y, those cancel. Okay, so I have 0 on this side, but these do not cancel. 4 minus 40 is a negative 36, and because those do not equal each other, okay, they do not equal, and this statement here is false. This one has no solution. These are your parallel lines that will never ever cross. Okay. So now we get into the word problems that go with these. It says an airplane took 6 hours to fly 1,200 miles against the wind. The return trip with the wind takes 2 hours. Find the speed of the plane in still air and the speed of the wind. So with this airplane problem, same as the boat problem, we need to know our distance. Whoops. Distance equals rate times time. So in this first sentence here, an airplane took 6 hours to fly 1,200 miles against the wind. My distance is 1,200 miles. My time is 6. When you are going against the wind, okay, and by the way, we're going to call the plane P and the wind W. When you are going against the wind, that means that wind is hurting you. So your rate is your plane minus your wind, your W. Okay, so then my return trip with the wind, because the wind is with me, that means this is P plus W. That wind is pushing that plane. So my return trip means I'm going 1,200 miles again. Now my rate is P plus W, and this one only took me 2 hours. And I'm actually going to space this out just a little bit. Okay. So from here, it is very tempting to distribute that 6 to everything and that 2 to everything. But do not. Distributive property is just multiplying, right? You're doing P times 6 and negative W times 6. The opposite of multiplying by 6 is to divide by it. So I'm going to divide both sides here by 6. And now this equation is 200 equals P minus W. Do the same thing to the other side. Instead of distributing the 2, instead of doing 2 times P and 2 times W, the opposite is to divide. So 1,200 divided by 2 is 600, and now we have a P plus W. We are doing it this way because now my W's will cancel. You've got a negative W and a positive one. So those cancel, and we're going to add what is left now. So 200 plus 600 is 800 equals P plus P is 2P. Divide both sides by 2. And my plane speed is 400. So now plug it in to get your W. I'm going to plug it into this one here. So I have 600 equals 400 plus W. Subtract your 400 over, and we get W to equal 200. Word problems require word answers. So what did we just find? We have found the plane's speed is 400. We have went miles and we are going in hours. So 400 miles per hour. And the wind is blowing 200 miles per hour. This is our final answer. Number 6, I have a total of 55 quarters and dimes worth $10.45. How many of each coin do I have? So, with your money problems, one of these has to do with just the amount of coins I have. Because I have 55 total, we're going to call quarters Q and D dimes. So that means my quarter plus my dime needs to add up to 55. Okay, whether it's 25 and 30, 45 and 10, whatever the case is, when I add them up, that needs to equal 45. So one just has to do with the amount. Let me write that. Okay, my amount is quarters plus dime equals 55. Now one has to do with the money. How much is a quarter worth? That's 0.25 cents. So 0.25 quarter plus how much is a dime worth? That's 10 cents. So you can either do 0.10D or 0.1D. And this needs to equal my total amount here, which is that $10.45. So now let's solve. So you can solve by the addition method again, which is what we did right here. Because not everybody likes that way, I'm going to solve this one by substitution. So here, if I was to solve for, let's say, dimes, we would have dimes equals 55 minus Q. Right? If you have Q plus D equals 55, you're subtracting Q over. You can't combine these, so we're just going to make that 55 minus Q. Okay. So now that I have that solved for dimes, now we're going to plug it in to that D. So I've got 0.25Q plus 0.1 times this right here, 55 minus Q, and that equals $10.45. So I know we got some decimals here, but we also have calculators, so let's not be afraid of these decimals. We're going to distribute first. So I've got 0.25Q plus 0.1 times 55 is 5.5. 0.1 times a negative Q is a negative 0.1 Q. Combine your like terms. We have 2.5 Q and a negative 0.1 Q. So I've got 0.15 Q plus 5.5 equals 10.45. Subtract your 5.5 over. 0.15 Q equals 4.95, and hopefully this divides evenly. Thank goodness. Divide by 0.15. And I get Q is 33. Once you get Q is 33, plug it into Q. So I've got D equals 55 minus 33. So my D equals 22. So word problems require word answers. How many of each coin do I have? I have 33 quarters and 22 dimes. Okay. All right, now we got some dimensional analysis. It says convert each measurement and round to the nearest tenth. A tenth means 1 decimal. So we're converting 2 liters to gallons. So start with what they give you. 2 liters. Okay, and if you want to put that all over 1, you can. Okay, times. Here is my conversion from liters to gallons. So because I already have a liter on top, that means I need this 3.75 liters on the bottom, which leaves that 1 gallon to the top. So my liters cancel, multiply straight across. We've got 2 gallons over 3.75. 2 divided by 3.75 is 0.53 repeating. So because I need to round to just 1 decimal place, this is going to be about about 0.5 gallons. All right, let's try and fit another one in here. Now I need to convert 200 pounds to kilograms. I'm gonna have to write this small, guys, I'm sorry. So we have 200 pounds. This is part B. And this was part A. All right, 200 pounds times, I have a conversion here of 1 pound equals about 0.45 kilograms. So because I already have my pounds on top, that means I need my 1 pound here on the bottom, which leaves that 0.45 kilograms on the top. My pounds are going to cancel. And so 200 times 0.45 is a nice and pretty 90. So 90 kilograms. Okay, those are my two answers there. On 8, a doctor orders 500 milligrams of drug for a patient you have on hand of a drug with a dosage strength of 0.2 grams per tab. How many tablets, that's what I need my final answer in, should the patient receive? And we're going to note that 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams. So, start with what they give you. The doctor was ordering 500 milligrams. Now, because I'm with milligrams, I can't use this conversion yet because that's grams and tabs, and I don't have either of those. So that's where this 1 gram equals 1,000 milligrams comes in. So because I have milligrams on top, right, we can think of that as being all over 1. Because I already have milligrams on top, I need this 1,000 milligrams on the bottom, which leaves that 1 gram on the top. So my milligrams are going to cancel and I'm left with grams, but I need this in tabs. So that's where this second one comes in. Now we have 0.2 grams per tab. Because I have grams on the top, I need that 0.2 grams on the bottom, which leaves my tab or my tablet to the top. My grams cancel, and now I'm left with tab, which is what I want. So multiply straight across. On the top we have 500 times 1 times tab. So we have 500 tabs all over 1,000.2 is 200. And now when I divide 500 divided by 200, we get 2.5. So 2.5 tabs is my final answer. Number 9, we need to solve the proportion and simplify. So, cross multiply. Doesn't matter which way you cross multiply first. I'm going to go this way. So, remember when you have a number times two things, that's like distributive property. So that is 8 times 2y minus 6 equals, cross multiply the other way, we got the same thing. 2 times 4y, is that plus 8? Plus 8. Okay, so we're going to distribute. So I get 16y minus 48 equals, distribute here, we get 8y plus 16, subtract your 8y over, and we've got 8y minus 48 equals 16, add 48 over, so I'm going to get 8y equals 64. Divide both sides by 8, and y equals 8. And then lastly, number 10. Find the unknown length of the pair of triangles. Write your answer as an integer that's a whole number or as a simplified fraction. Your instructions will also say or a mixed number. So, set up a proportion. There is not one way to do this. However you set up that first one, you have to follow the same pattern for the second one. So if I do 3 over 18, I went 3 to 18, then I have to do x over 27 from the top to the bottom. You could also do 3 over x equals 18 over 27. Okay, it does not matter how you write your proportion. Just however you write the first one, you have to write the second one in the same way. So, if I go 3 over 18, then I'll set that equal to x over 27. We're going to cross multiply. I've got 18x equals 3 times 27 is 81. And when you divide by 18, okay, when you divide by 18, you get 4.5. Now, even though this is an answer, and it's the correct answer, it says nothing up here about round to the decimal to the nearest tenth or whatever the case, whatever the case may be. It says integer, that's a whole number or a simplified fraction, and this 4.5 is neither. So I cannot write my answer in that form. So, simplify your fraction. If I have 81 over 18, I know I can divide both of those by 9. 81 divided by 9 is 9, and 18 divided by 9 is 2. That is a simplified fraction. Now it also says a mixed number, so you can also say 2 goes into 9 4 times with 1 left over, and we're going to keep that all over 2. Either of these answers are fine. There is a way to put this in your calculator to get this mixed number. I can't show you in this video though, so if you're interested in not doing that by hand, you got to come and talk to me before your test. Alright guys, this is your last video for CPM 3. Good luck on your test, and as much as I love you, I hope to not see you next 8 weeks or next semester. Bye guys.